Shattered glass in upscale Dubai neighborhoods. Drones intercepted over Bahrain financial harbor. And the Strait of Hormuz, carrying the lowest maritime traffic volume in decades. This isn't science fiction. This is the Middle East in March 2026. On February 28th, the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes against Iranian nuclear and military sites. Iran's response was immediate, and it didn't come just against Israel. It came against the neighbors, against economic hubs, against civilian infrastructure. More than 1,700 missiles and drones were launched against the United Arab Emirates alone in the first 2 weeks of the conflict. That number comes from the UAE's own Ministry of Defense. The question now isn't just military, it's structural. Does the regional security architecture hold? Let's separate fact from narrative. This matters. Confirmed facts from multiple sources. On February 28th, the U.S. and Israel struck Iran. That is the declared origin of the conflict. Iran responded with a broad retaliation campaign, hitting at least 11 countries and territories across the region, according to Pentagon estimates. The UAE Ministry of Defense confirmed on March 3rd 812 drones, 186 ballistic missiles, and 8 cruise missiles launched against the country. Interception rate around 90%, but 57 drones and at least 1 ballistic missile impacted Emirati territory. 6 civilians killed, 122 injured, most of them migrant workers. Dubai, and I need to be clear here, Dubai is an emirate within the UAE, not a separate country, had its international airport temporarily shut down. Debris in residential neighborhoods, smoke over the port of Jebel Ali. The port of Fujairah, which handles a significant share of regional refining, was hit by a drone intercepted on March 3rd. What is still an allegation? Iran accused the United States of using Emirati territory as a staging ground to strike Karg Island, Iran's main oil export terminal. The UAE denies it. The United States denies it. There is no independently verified evidence. What is political statement? On March 7th, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian announced that Iran would stop attacking its neighbors, unless strikes were launched from their territory. Then Trump called the pullback surrender and threatened further escalation. On March 15th, Iran threatened the evacuation of 3 Emirati ports, the first time it made a direct threat against non-American assets of a neighboring country. That changes the picture. Why the UAE? Why did Dubai and Abu Dhabi come before other targets? There's a clear logic here. The Emirates host one of the largest concentrations of American assets outside a NATO-allied territory. Al Dhafra Air Base, naval logistics, intelligence infrastructure. At the same time, the UAE publicly denies any involvement in the strikes. From Iran's perspective, hitting the UAE serves a dual purpose: punish the perceived complicity with the Americans, and send an economic signal to the entire world. Because Dubai isn't just a city, it's a global logistics node. Aviation, insurance, commodities, expatriates, capital flows. When Dubai's airport stops, insurance premiums rise across the entire region. When Jebel Ali gets hit, supply chains tremble from South Asia to Europe. On the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, son of Ali Khamenei, who reportedly died or was critically injured in the strikes, according to Western sources, announced the strait would remain closed. Only a handful of vessels managed to pass through in March. Oil prices surged, and Trump went on air calling for 7 countries to send frigates to secure passage. With no firm response so far. On Iraq and Syria, Shia Iraqi militias have intensified attacks against American interests in recent days. According to 3 Iraqi security sources cited by Reuters, the tempo has increased over the past 3 to 4 days. Hezbollah and the Revolutionary Guard launched, for the first time, a coordinated simultaneous bombardment against Israel. 200 missiles from Lebanon. Only 2 reached an Israeli target. On Pakistan. The backdrop is different, but no less important. In February, Pakistan launched airstrikes against Afghanistan. In parallel, tensions with Iran remain high along the border. Islamabad faces what analysts call a three-front dilemma: Afghanistan, Iran, and India at the same time. There is no direct involvement in the Iran-US-Israel conflict, but the regional context grows more fragile with each passing week. What we're looking at is a hybrid war with very specific characteristics. Iran uses air defense saturation as a tactic. The goal isn't to destroy the enemy with a surgical strike, it's to exhaust interceptor stockpiles, raise operational costs, and generate constant psychological pressure. Every interception has a price tag. A Patriot missile costs between $3 and $6 million. An Iranian Shahed 136 costs less than $50,000. That math matters. At the same time, the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, has apparently taken command of operations. According to CBS News, U.S. government sources believe the IRGC is making the decisions because Mojtaba Khamenei may be injured and has not yet consolidated full authority. That creates a real risk environment. When the chain of command is fragmented, miscalculation becomes more likely. Trump publicly stated that Iran wants to make a deal, but that the terms aren't good enough. Iran denied any capitulation. Direct diplomacy is frozen. This isn't just retaliation, it's managed escalation, or an attempt at management by both sides, at the same time that neither appears to have a clear way out. 3 scenarios. Ranked by probability. No sensationalism. Scenario 1. Progressive degradation and forced negotiation. Probability. High. The U.S. and Israel continue degrading Iranian military capability. 10 provinces have already been struck. Iran progressively loses large-scale strike capacity. The pressure on the Strait of Hormuz becomes economically unsustainable for the region itself. A secret diplomatic channel, possibly mediated by Oman or Qatar, opens space for a ceasefire without formal surrender. Neither side acknowledges defeat publicly. Scenario 2. Expansion through the axis of resistance. Probability. Medium-high. As Iran's direct arsenal is degraded, it accelerates proxy activation. Hezbollah, Iraqi militias, and, the most sensitive variable, the Houthis in Yemen, who have so far kept their finger on the trigger without firing. If the Houthis enter the conflict, the Red Sea becomes an active conflict zone again. Pressure on the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain intensifies. The regional economic crisis deepens. Scenario 3. Loss of control and broad confrontation. Probability. Low, but not zero. A miscalculation, an unauthorized strike, bad intelligence, a drone hitting the wrong target, triggers a disproportionate response. The conflict breaks out of the managed pattern. Critical infrastructure of a Gulf hub is severely destroyed. Countries that have so far maintained a balancing position are forced to pick a side. The dynamic shifts. Containment isn't guaranteed. It's an active effort, and it's under pressure. First point, the timing of the war. The U.S. and Israel struck on February 28th. A moment when Ali Khamenei was still alive. The attack accelerated an unplanned leadership transition inside Iran. Mojtaba Khamenei inherited a war already in progress, without internal consolidation, without tested support. That explains, in part, why the IRGC appears to be driving tactical decisions. The political leadership is still finding its footing. Second point, Iran's narrative about the neighbors. Iran is trying to separate its war against the US and Israel from the pressure on Gulf states. Pezeshkian apologized to the neighbors, promised to stop the attacks, but at the same time threatened 3 Emirati ports and accused the UAE of complicity without evidence. This is narrative warfare, and it serves 2 distinct audiences: regional Arab public opinion and international diplomacy. Third point, the UAE doesn't want to choose. Abu Dhabi has a deep security relationship with Washington, but it also has historic commercial ties with Iran. The Emirates are home to one of the largest Iranian expatriate communities in the world. Every week of conflict forces a choice that Emirati leaders would rather not make. Fourth point, the absence of the Houthis. They have the arsenal. They have declared motivation, and they're quiet. That is as relevant as any attack. The Houthi silence could be strategic restraint, or it could be accumulation. So where are we? 3 weeks of conflict, and no visible exit. Iran has lost heavy strike capability, but hasn't lost the ability to apply pressure. Through proxies, through Hormuz, through simpler and cheaper drones. The US and Israel continue degrading Iranian military infrastructure across 10 provinces. The Gulf states intercept what they can and try not to pick a side. Dubai has broken glass in the streets. The airport shut down. Jebel Ali was hit. And yet global markets are watching the UAE as the real thermometer of this crisis. Because when the stability of that hub collapses, the cost isn't local. The question that remains is this: who can impose cost without losing control of the escalation ladder? Iran is betting that economic cost will force negotiation. The US is betting that military degradation will force surrender. The Gulf states are hoping both are wrong before next week arrives, and the Houthis are still waiting.